What is your take on this Elon Musk Twitter saga? What if he actually succeeds in buying it?
Well, it's just another example of this, what I consider this competitiveness problem that's going on in the whole world now with Facebook and Google and Apple. Now we're going to have another major company controlled by an individual, and it bothers me, frankly. Whatever the price is and whether it gets done or not done, the idea of him having this kind of control over a major media outlet, it should be everybody's concern. I mean, it may be a free form afterwards. I mean, who knows? He may just open it up and without any rules or restrictions, and you don't know what's going to come across that as a media.
Alan, there was some that were suggesting that another large tech company could step in and be the white knight here. That hasn't happened, and I'm assuming the reason that hasn't happened is that I'm talking about sort of an Alphabet or a Microsoft, the ability to get through regulators would have been virtually impossible. And I'm wondering whether we are actually starting to see a meaningful impact now of regulatory pushback. And this could be a case in point. They haven't stepped in. And the reason they haven't stepped in is they know that M&A is now virtually impossible. Large-scale M&A is now virtually impossible in their businesses. Is that a silver lining here in your view?
Well, I don't know if you call it a silver lining. I'm 100% agreement with you there. I think it'd be almost impossible to have one of the major, the FANGs, or let's even add Microsoft to it, the top 6 or 7. We should be very concerned with concentration in this company. I've been concerned for a long time, even though I'm a beneficiary of them buying some of our smaller companies. But we are just in a, when you have Google with 90% of the search volume, and when you have Amazon with a high percentage they've got of retail trade, I can't, and now, of course, there's David Ciciline's committee in the House, and there's Amy Klobuchar and Grassley, who've just come out with their Senate proposal. You've had the European proposal come out a week ago. I think it's called the Digital Media or Digital Marketing Act, which are all addressing that issue. And I would think it would be almost suicidal for a major company to try to buy Twitter at this moment in time. And I certainly would be very unhappy if it even considered to be happening.
Are we getting to the point, Alan, where these tech companies are too big to fail, in a sense?
I don't know about too big to fail. I think they're too big. I mean, I think we have too much concentration, and if you carry it reducto ad absurdum in 5 or 10 years or less, you're just going to be totally control everything. I'm sure Google knows you and I are sitting here talking right now.
I'm sure it does.
They probably even know what we're saying. And I think it goes for a lot of other things. The data is critical, and this data is controlled by these limited numbers of companies. And at the same time, it thwarts the opportunities for single companies, young companies. I see you have my book on the screen, my new book, which is coming out next week. It doesn't stifle. I mean, look, lots of small companies love to be bought by the bigger companies, but I think we're better off as a society to see them grow and nurture. And, what if Apple had sold out in the 3rd or 4th year, which I'm sure it could have sold many, many times, and a lot of the others, but they stood against the wind, and we now have built major companies. And I'm not against big companies. I'm just a bit against concentration, and I think I'm not in favor of necessarily breaking these companies up, but I think we have to have some restrictions on what they do. And look, the major competitive laws, the major monopoly laws were passed in 1890 and 1913, and they didn't even know what the internet was.
Because it's a very different world.
Yeah, and I think we need new regulations to figure out how to deal with these companies.